Okay, it's noon and Chair Testoni, since you're still the chair at this point, if you'll go ahead and kick us off.
Like to call the meeting to order. Take a roll call of people who are here.
Devrin,
Here.
Stan,
Here.
John,
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Thank you, sorry. I'll say Dr. T. And then go ahead and do an introduction of your board members.
Stan, we'll start with you, please.
I'm sorry, what?
They just want you to
Introducing yourself to
introduce
the-
yourself to the board.
I'm sorry,
They just want you to introduce yourself.
I'm Stan York, member.
Devin Bennett. Lieutenant in the fire department and I've been on this board for a handful of years now.
Mark Testoni, I'm the current chairman of the board and I've been here for 2 years.
Mark Tasillo, I've been on and off the board for a number of years and I'm presently vice chair.
Aaron Hankins, I'm the current Fire EMS and Search and Rescue Director for the Petersburg Volunteer Fire Department. I am also the borough's emergency manager.
John Lichtenberger, new to the board. I'm a retired 21-year veteran of the Juneau Police Department, another 10 years in Queen Creek as a code enforcement officer and in Petersburg now and on the board.
Now, I can make a motion or I cannot make a motion.
I don't think you can make a motion as the chairman.
Correct.
Okay.
You may not.
So.
You
so
can entertain a motion or anyone else can make a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we open the floor for appointment of chair and vice chair.
Second.
And
I'm gonna be off the island more than I'm on the island, for the remaining of the year. So I would like to give up my chairperson's, position to one of the other board members. And I'd like to open up that to a vote.
so someone can just suggest a name? Does
Does
that
anyone
make
want to be
sense?
Chairman.
I'd like to move Dr. T be nominated.
Anybody else?
I was gonna suggest, John Lunenberg.
So, Dr. T, are you not interested?
No,
in-
I would do it, but it's like I keep my head below the line of fire, but
I think he'd rather keep the position that he's in.
I understand, fine. So is there a second for John Lichtenberger?
second.
Thank you. Yes, is it not? There we go.
There you go. To clarify, Debbie, I am not a voting member on this board.
That is correct, you are not. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a vote on John being the chair. Stan?
Aye.
Mark Testoni?
Yeah,
Mark Tasillo?
Yes.
Devrin?
Yes.
And John?
Yes, I guess.
You accept? Okay. All
I'll
right.
Make it unanimous, huh?
yeah, pass him
The only
the gavel.
thing, only
Pass
thing
him the
worse
gavel.
than being new is not being here.
Right. Pass him the gavel.
There you go.
So how about vice chair? I have a motion to nominate someone as vice chair.
I nominate Dr. T.
Is there a second?
Second that.
And a vote, Mark Testoni,
Yay.
Devrin, John,
Yep.
Mark Tasillo,
Yes.
and Stan. Thank you. Okay. So now, Mr. Lichtenberger, it's your meeting.
All right. Everybody had a chance to look at the previous minutes.
Yes.
I motion the minutes be approved as they stand.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The meeting minutes for February 15th have been approved. Everyone had a chance to read the current agenda.
Yes.
Are there any additions to the agenda?
Dan,
I was approached by a couple people downtown about a possibility of checking into if there could be a drop-off zone in front of the drugstore for old people that have come down to get prescriptions and things. And I said I'd bring it up. I'm not pushing it one way or the other. I'm just bringing it up. So folks are aware of it. There are people that have been asking about it. A safety strip right in front of where you can get a car in, right in front of the drugstore.
is that our road?
I
don't think it's ours.
I'm not sure it's ours either.
It belongs to the state.
I'm sorry.
I think Main Street belongs to the state because it's all part of Norton.
Is it ours?
I
Maybe it's
believe
only
it's
South Nordic that is the
South
state's
Norwich.
and Hagen.
And
So
then-
I think it might be
Yeah,
ours.
we might be able to do that then.
Maybe so. We'll
Yeah.
just have to verify that.
Possible, Stan.
So I would make a motion that we clarify the status of the curb and would be in favor of endorsing that if it in fact is under our purview.
I think is all we were doing was adding that to the.
Oh,
meeting.
okay, right.
Add it to the agenda to discuss.
Okay.
So Stan made the motion. Do I have a second to add it to the agenda? Thank you. And, should I roll call vote? John,
Yay.
this is just to add this item to the
Yes.
agenda. Okay, Devrin,
Yes.
Stan,
I,
Mark,
yes.
thank you, and Dr. T.
Yes.
Thank you. And then we should have a motion to approve the agenda as amended, please.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Stan,
I'm sorry, what?
to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, right.
Thank you. John,
Yes.
Dr. T,
Yes.
Devrin, Mark,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Yes. Here to represent.
Persons to be heard related to the agenda. We have to see if there's anyone here.
Oh, okay. Is there anyone here to be heard on any of the agenda items? Don?
So first it's related to the agenda and then the second one is unrelated. So first we're on related to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman and board members of the Public Safety Board. I'm here to address the assembly on agenda item handicap parking access on Dolphin Street as it relates to the Catholic Church. And I would also like to speak to the motion that's been, the amendment that Stan has made. I'll cover those in either two separate times. I'll first address the board on the item B. If I may approach the board with paperwork permissible.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, page of the document that I provided you, taken off of the city map. And it shows a blue building where 2 handicap ramps have been constructed in association with the Catholic Church over the past several years. And the blue line represents the request for 2 additional designated handicap parking spaces. Okay? For clarification purposes, and for your understanding, the Catholic Church is, you can see, is quite large. Part of the buildings were put together over different periods of time. The church itself was built in the 60s and late 70s, early 80s. The additional building was put on, which is the community hall gathering place. There are 2 buildings with 3-foot separation and elevation. Okay, so within the church, it's impractical to get handicap access even within the church to go from one building to another. So that required ultimately, for our purposes, we chose to build 2 handicap ramps. Okay, the ramps have been completed. Parish council came to me and said, how do we go about obtaining a parking spaces, handicap parking spaces associated with the church? We have at least right now 4 individuals within our community that are using either walkers or wheelchair bound. So we do have this need, and it's long term. For point of clarification, I read the letter associated in response from the school. And what their request is, they just want all the parking space they have and to minimize anything you might take away from them. Which is fine. And when this subject came up, the first person I endeavored to contact was the city. How do I go about coming up with a parking space? And designated it and said, well, go to your public safety board. Well, it's been 6 months. You haven't had a meeting. So I then called the chief, and the chief met me immediately, and he made an assessment. I had requested 1 parking space to start with. He recommends 2. And on further review, and his explanation was, to me, made sense to have the 2 parking spaces added to this facility, which would serve our community well, our church community well. But also, I would say that the people within the community, within the church, have to also abide by that space. When we have, 30 or 40 people coming to church, we want to know that the people that are handicapped have a place to park, rather than going across the street. There's lots of parking spaces, say, on Saturday and Sunday when church services are held. And I want to point out that the error within the school's observation is our church service is not held just on a Saturday or on a Sunday. We're an active church. We have a priest that rotates between here and Wrangell, and we have church services 7 days a week on occasion. Maybe 1 week we have only on the weekend. But generally speaking, it's at least 4 days out of the week that we have a church service at noon. It starts really at 11 o'clock and goes about 1 o'clock. So we have 2 hours during the day when we would like to think that anyone could come to the church, the handicapped people. So we're appealing to you to fulfill what we feel is an entitlement to people for all public facilities. They have places that make it accessible to people under these conditions. So if you have any questions regarding I have one closing comment. On your next page of your map, I took the city, I went back and looked at what the school currently has, and they're marked out in red. There are eight parking spaces that are handicap access associated with the school facility. And they also serve the community for when you have voting. The public voting places is within the confines of the school system. And, so I think they're adequately covered. I also might point out that as I drove by the church this morning and the school this morning to verify everything I'm sharing with you, the place that most people park is naturally the closest they can get to the entrance of the building. But if you look on the right-hand page on Excel and North Fifth Street, there's a whole street there. There's not a car parked there. I mean, they could walk 100 feet or 200 feet to go to school if they're gonna leave their car there all day. It's just, to me, it doesn't make any sense for the school to say. They need all the parking space they need to have. So, my perspective, I think you should grant us the request based on the recommendation of the chief, 2 parking spaces.
So you don't have morning, it's not morning mass, you have a noontime mass, basically?
We have, church service starts at 11. Right now, there's a church service going on at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And you go to the school and they're on Dolphin Street and on, the 3rd Street. Cars are parked all right, just right around the church. And, we cannot use, we have no handicap access for people off of, say, 3rd Street. There's a set of steps that lead to the front of the church. But, you know, so you mean you have an option, you could say, if you wanted to create an option that's different from the handicap, put a sign up on 3rd Street. Well, then you have to wheel your individual, you know, several hundred feet to get to the ramp to get into the church. So it seems logical to me where you build your handicap ramp. The facility should be able right there where people who are unsteady on their feet can have quick access to the church. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
What is the parking status next to the long ramp? Is there parking in there? I mean, I understand you can't go between the two. I'm just asking what that space is utilized for.
Well, that is, the cars do park
Okay.
in there because that's the hall where they bring in food and other there's a lot of activity and jostling of cars bringing food and people back and forth from the hall access. And then I might point out also, you know, our hall is used by many people within the community for others, community activities, even school associated activities, Girl Scouts, on and on. We just are open, our church is open to people. If you
That
have,
space, Don, so that space that Dr. Tasola was talking about, that's, even though you have a handicap ramp in there, that's more for, it's almost like a delivery area that, you know, nobody's really right here.
Yeah, this is like a community
Right.
building and they can't get from here to there
Right.
without going down. a
No, I
ramp.
understand.
Yeah.
So that space that Dr. Tasola was talking about, that's really almost like a driveway for deliveries, you know.
Right,
So there's no
exactly.
real parking in there.
right, we don't
Okay.
generally park in there.
But that's where your biggest ramp is to get
Just
into
like
the
we saw
facility.
Recently, when we had Easter services, the people that are handicapped have to come out of the church. They go out of the church down the handicap access ramp, are wheeled, then they go back and come into the second, because they can't get in.
Right, because of the difference
So
in
we're just,
elevation.
we're
Yeah.
jostling people around.
So I mean, I think that's a great idea to have handicap space or spaces. If, in my mind, if it satisfies the total population that you're trying to serve versus having kind of a drop-off area and then again, being able to park over here. I don't know on Sundays, how many people you guys have in there that would, you know, jostle for those 2 spots.
We just have to accommodate what we can. We're not gonna ask for 4 spaces or.
Right, well, I'm just,
Oh, yeah,
I just don't know what your assessment of how many, what's the maximum number of people you think? You said 5? Is that what you said?
Right now, we have four people.
4, okay.
They're broken hips or they're elderly. My wife is elderly and I don't help, I put her in a wheelchair or in a walker to get her into the church. And we're very, I mean, it's not self-serving. I'm looking at the public's interest, anyone.
And you're
within the
looking
church.
really for 2 spots. to be open all the time for the church.
I think I
the
would
church
follow the
community.
chief's recommendation.
And the two
myself,
spots
and-
would
and I-
be,
And I feel that that would be appropriate.
and the two spots would be end to end where
Right,
the blue line
back to
is.
back. And I pointed out also, as a person who works at the church a lot and did a lot of work, I've been there for a long time. I noticed that there are people from school, when they come to pick up their own children that handicap, they have a few places, if you look on the second page, they have a couple of handicap spaces in front of the school itself. But it surely wouldn't hurt my mind to have additional, I mean, people, when they come at 3 o'clock or about the time their kids are coming out, cars all over the place. And if you're handicapped as a driver and you want to get as close to the school as you can, waiting your turn, because there's traffic going back and forth, it's just mayhem. And the buses, the other thing I might add, there's 3 buses that are picking up kids to put them on buses and taking them. And so the buses kind of take priority. I've never really seen anybody pull in. I mean, I'm not there that much, but I have never observed anybody parking in in the one blue space right near the west end of the school. But it
So-
is what it is. And if you can table this, you can go look for yourself and
So
And it is our
further
road.
investigate it if you care
So
to.
It is our road.
the only other question I have, Don, is, so what your only objection would be is that you want it open basically 24/7 for the church as opposed to what, Ms. Khan was saying, with she wanted it only for weekends.
Yeah, it does,
For when
that does not
services.
fit our church services.
Right,
It
because
does
you've
not
got
fit our
services,
schedule at
we'll
all.
say you have
It's
services
a
7 days. a week.
misconception.
We'll say you have them 7 days a week.
But I see the school benefiting from it also. Actually,
Okay, for clarification, from my point, I got a unique view of that area every morning when I go to the gym. The cars that are currently and have been for the last 9 months that park in that area get there early enough that there's a ton of spaces in the regular school parking lot. I mean, there's maybe 5 or 6 cars in there. So it's, I don't see that parking as an issue for the school, maybe, just from a personal observation standpoint. Those 2 spots and that you're referring to.
The school has a low likelihood of using them because you'd actually be walking further than from the regular spots.
Right.
But I think that I can endorse that. I
Yeah.
think, I don't, if in fact there is plenty of space on the side streets, then, yeah, I think the school can accommodate.
Yeah, and the same with John says, because we joined the gym, so I know what you're talking about. And reading, Principal Khan's email, I understand her point of view, but then again, the 2 spots in front of the church, for your needs, I think it makes a lot more sense than saying, you can only have it there on the weekdays, considering you are there, we'll say 7 days a week. And as you pointed out, if you go into the gym, if you have to walk an extra, 100 yards, well, you go into the gym. So I mean, it's not gonna, hurt you at all to take those extra steps. And, I wouldn't have any problem supporting it.
there's a weather condition. Many times the streets are icy, like all winter long. We weren't able to, in certain situations, able to transport people because of the ice conditions, and all these factors play in. So the closer we can get to the handicap ramp, the better it is for all of us, less to maintain. We can get the ice and salt and clean that up and get people in and out of the church. Anyway, thank you for your point. I did make a comment that I would like, so if I may, Mr. Chair. Stan made an amendment to the agenda. I'm assuming what was that labeled as? It's a parking space for.
Drugstore
consideration
drop-off
for a
zone.
Drop-off zone in front of the drugstore.
Yes.
May I address that issue now? I want to point out to the public safety, if you go to the pub concerning what's legit, what you can do on that street or not, go in front of the trading union. The training unit has a blue parking space. It's been there forever for people picking up their groceries. What you're asking for makes sense to me. If you've already established it one place, it's surely common sense. You don't have to do much work to say, we're already doing it. Just enable it, make it happen. Thank you.
So I guess my question is, what is a drop-off space? You don't park there, you don't get out of your car, what?
You would, my understanding would be somebody would have to be sitting, somebody would have to be in the car while somebody else goes in and gets their, or have the prescriptions. I know they will bring prescriptions out to the car, at least they
Yeah,
were doing
yeah.
that. Yeah, you couldn't just park there. You
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah,
that
you
there
couldn't
was
just
a
park there,
designation.
Yeah, yeah.
Alternatively,
That-
couldn't
that's
you
the
make it
different
a
one.
5 or 10 minute loading zone?
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay, do we have a motion on agenda item number 2?
Well, motion, we endorse the two.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. We're still on, persons to be heard. So the next agenda item, actually, we're not on action items yet.
Okay.
Okay. We're really supposed to be just talking at this point.
Okay.
learning process, believe me.
So then we would go on to number 7, persons to be heard unrelated to the agenda. And we would see if there was anyone wanting to speak. Looks like no.
Looming, he's looming in the background.
And then you can go on to agenda number 8 for staff report.
Okay. You have a staff report?
We do.
Okay.
Because I was waiting for permission.
All right.
So I was asked by member Lichtenberger to speak on the fire response capability and then the function of the Emergency Command Center of the borough. So I'll start with the PVFD first. We are made up of 3 branches: fire, EMS, and search and rescue. The department has 3 paid staff members and 81 volunteer members who are trained in a variety of the 3 branch disciplines, with 21 members in fire, 33 members in EMS, 29 members in search and rescue, and that is to date. The tactical response of the volunteer fire department is set by the volunteer fire chief, who is elected by the volunteers. Why I myself take care of the day-to-day administration needs of the department. The chief is the person who will decide what resources respond and where they will respond to as a delegation of duties. As the director, if the only time I would step in and supersede that is if there is unlawful or dangerous orders given. But we're in accordance, it's all ironed out. So the PVFD boasts 4 fire engines, which are capable of carrying 750 gallons of water each. These engines are of varying degrees of age, with engine 5 being the oldest and set to be replaced. That engine was built in 1991, engine 6 in 1994, engine 8 in 2001, and engine 4 in 2007. We also have 1 mini pumper rescue vehicle known as Squad 1. It was built in 2002. 1 water tender for service off the fire hydrants. That water tender was built in 2004. We boast 2 ambulances for EMS response and 2 administrative general purposes vehicles, 1 truck, 1 SUV for other duties. We also have agreements with the harbor and the police department to use the harbor security boat in case of off-island response. We also store some ATVs with trailers that are loaded with portable pumps to fight boat fires and fires off at Kupernof if needed. We also have agreements with Temsco in the event we require a helicopter to reach an incident site. It is worth knowing that per borough statute, we are only supposed to provide service within service area 1, or within a service area of which we only have service area 1. We, as current chief's policy, we will send 1 ambulance or 1 engine to a response outside that service area if personnel are available, but it's not guaranteed. This outlines the normal response capabilities of the Petersburg Volunteer Fire Department. This assumes what FEMA refers to as a type 5 incident, meaning a single resource, i.e. the fire department, is sufficient to respond to an incident. A type 4 incident, the 5 being the lowest level of incident that we would respond to, it goes up in scale. Type 4 incident is a larger scale incident that might require additional resources. And it, depending on the scale of that type 4 or higher incidents, I would step back as a responder and start to head up the, or start to stand up the EOC. And then this process is outlined in chapter 3.72 of the Borough Code. And from there, we would follow the plan outlined in our most current ratified disaster response plan, which was drafted in 2010.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Right, so where are we at now?
So item 9
Un-
would be unfinished business, but we have
Unfinished.
none.
We have none,
Mhm.
and new business? Is there any new business?
So John, you would go to 10A and you would read Ravens Roost Trail signage and crosswalk on the agenda there of the.
Okay.
I think he does. It's just here, a little bit too far. Oh. Here we go. Here's our agenda. Oh,
Uh-oh,
yeah, right here. So here we go, 10A,
okay,
and then you read the narrative. And then everybody, there's a motion made and a second, and then you can talk about it.
okay. New business, A, Ravens Roost Trail signage and crosswalk. Chief Kerr was contacted by a local citizen requesting a crosswalk and signage to slow down traffic on the road at the base of Ravens Roost Trail. The parking area is on the opposite side of the road from the trailhead. Vehicles are often driving fast off the Cabin Creek Road, and visibility isn't the best for pedestrians coming off the trail. Chief Kerr seeks support from the board to request Public Works install the appropriate signs and crosswalk from the base of the trail to the other side of the street. Is there any discussion on this?
We should actually have a motion on the floor first, please. A motion, you're technically, per Robert's rules, before you discuss an action item, you make a motion and get a second, and then you discuss.
Make a motion to discuss.
Second.
Okay. Is there discussion on this?
That whole road is a death trap. I don't know that a crosswalk giving somebody a false sense of security helps or hurts. Coming around that very minimal down the hill curve at the bottom of the Cabin Creek Road. I think in theory, it's a good idea. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
I have to go along with Mark says. A crosswalk would definitely help, and if we put signs both sides of the curb, approaching, crosswalk, pedestrians right away, that type of thing. I think that'd be a very good idea.
My question would be what would be required to set that up? Because I know that if they did anything to like the crosswalk that goes across Hagen by the airport, they then have to put up lighted signs, update that to current standards. My question would be what is those current standards? So, and do we have to follow them?
Is that our road?
That's our road.
It is our road,
Okay.
and it would, Public Works would do whatever the law says they have to do to put a crosswalk in the signs.
But it might be more than just some paint and
Yeah.
a sign or two.
Correct.
What's the speed limit on that road right now?
But, which we all know.
That's
is really
just a
40.
suggestion, actually.
25 is really 40.
Motion right now.
Well, you made a motion to discuss that it would be better if it was a motion to recommend or a motion to approve.
I don't know that adding a crosswalk is actually gonna make a difference. Nobody's gonna see it and care. It might shift liability and maybe give some people something to see, or, something to think about anyways. Adjusting speed limit or adding a speed bump, maybe.
Love to see a speed bump. I
They plow that
I would
road?
like to amend, I don't know, who made the motion? Or who made it? Oh, okay. I'd like to make an amendment that we investigate what it takes to meet the criteria for a crosswalk. If we have to start putting blinking lights and stuff like that in, that gets to be a lot more onerous than just painting some stripes.
Second.
Okay, shall we vote on that amendment? Yes,
Okay,
Devon,
Yes.
Stan, John, Mark, and Dr. T.
Yes.
Thank you.
all right, item B, which is the handicap access to Dolphin Street. Chief Kerr received a request for installation of handicap access parking on Dolphin Street on the north side of the St. Catherine and Siena Roman Catholic Church. Chief Kerr recommends fulfilling this request and seeks board support for the project. The school district requests the handicap parking be designated for weekends only. See Chief Kerr's report and the Stedman Elementary Principal Khan's email, which is attached.
I'd like to make a motion to endorse the two spots, but they be continuous, not just on Sunday.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, you are.
Um, this is a public venue, and I think that the majority of the public venues out there should have at least one parking spot or one handicap parking spot. I think you'll find that with most other public venues around town. Parking, no matter where we are on this island, is always an issue. And we all kind of have to work around each other a little bit. The school, between employees and high schoolers and people using the community gym, that whole area gets super congested. There is additional parking behind the gym that people should be using to help lessen that a little bit. I would love to be able to give the church 2 parking spots, but I think in the kind of the in-between is to give them one parking spot for now, on a permanent basis. And maybe in the future, we could, add a second one, depending on how congestion might be, or add, like Aaron suggested earlier, for another parking spot, maybe a loading zone in that area to help. Again, parking is just such an issue around here. I think that that's a good start.
I would like to amend my motion to 1 parking spot.
Is there a second?
Second,
I'll second. I have a question regarding high school parking. Do the high school kids, are they given stickers to say they're high school students, or is it just anybody parks in there?
I think it's just anybody parks in there.
So again, I think starting with 1 is just that, maybe a start, or maybe it
Evaluate.
works out, yeah. But through the whole week, not just on Sunday.
And the only reason why I asked a question about the high school parking is if it's just high school kids or staff parking in those areas, if they had a sticker. I don't know how we enforce this, but, well, I know how we could, but, believe me. That might lessen the problems that the school's having with parking situations. I know, I'm not gonna lie, I go to the gym, I try to park not in that parking area, I try to park on the street. across the street from the church. But if that's a problem with not enough parking spaces because people like me going to the gym or anybody else going to the gym is taking the high school spots up, to me, that should really be designated just for high school, for high school staff and for students. And if it means that you put a sticker on the car, and every now and then, maybe the guy on days, police officer on days takes just a drive through the parking lot and, oh, somebody making a violation, either put a warning on it the first time or start filling the town coffers with parking tickets. It might resolve the problem, more than just having to give up, parking spaces on the street. But maybe that's something we can talk to Principal Khan about and, and
Well, my observation is that there's gonna be, even with two spaces, one person that's gonna be inconvenienced by two spaces. And that person gets there early enough to park in the attached parking lot. In fact, when I left the gym today at a little after 9, there were five places within the parking lot that were open. And one of them was open the entire time. I jog on the track and I'm looking out there most of the time. So like I said, I've only seen one person, and it's the same person parks in that same position. I think that's the only person that would be inconvenienced during the time people are at the gym and the time that people are dropping off their kids. And after that, it's kind of open. So I don't know that there's any need for stickers on any cars or not, because that's a community center and people pay like I do to go to that community center on a daily basis. So I see a few high school kids in there, not a lot. And I've been there religiously for the last 9 months. And I know who's there and who's not there and who comes and goes between the hours of about 6 and 9. And that's when kids are being dropped off. So like I said, I don't know that losing one space basically is going to affect them, particularly since the person that uses that space gets there at a time when that parking lot is got maybe 6 cars in it.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was just the high school parking lot or if it serves a community center. Oh, it's community center, okay. Oh, okay, disregard.
Okay, so where we're at right now, unless there's more discussion, is that we have a motion on the floor to endorse one spot permanently on Dolphin Street. On the south side of Dolphin Street, yes, I think. Of Dolphin Street.
Yeah, south side.
North of the church, sorry.
Okay, are we ready to take a vote on that? Okay. Stan,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Dr. T,
Aye.
Devrin, John.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. It passes as recommending one, and then Chief Kerr will get with Public Works.
Okay. The next item is the parabolic mirror installation at Hagen Drive and Second Street. Member Tasillo requests consideration of installing a parabolic mirror at the south corner of Hagen Drive and Second Street. For drivers on the north Second Street, either turning onto or crossing Hagen Drive, it's very difficult to see oncoming traffic traveling down Hagen. Hagen Drive is a state-owned, maintained street. Chief Kerr spoke with ADOT regarding the mirror, and based upon his findings, does not recommend the borough move forward with installation. Please see Chief Kerr's report, which is attached. We have a motion one way or the other on this.
So I will make a motion that we pursue evaluation of placing a mirror.
I'll second.
So basically, when I talked to Barry, he said that the state would not endorse this, but if it was further back and it wasn't on the state right of way, that there's no prohibition about placing a mirror there. And we used to have a mirror right in the corner of this building, right? That one right over across there, didn't we?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think we did.
No?
It used to be on the corner of the building down here.
Yeah, right. And again, so I don't, unless there's some objection from well, it'd probably be the church, not the library, to place in one further back, I still think it would be utilized to improve the visibility coming down Haugen. Because I have the smallest car in the world and I still get out there and kind of have to look around the curve. And I'm surprised that there's not more activity at that corner, but it's somewhat anxiety provoking. Sometimes you get halfway out and just like Sandy Beach, they're not coming down there 25 miles an hour. So I think the mirror, if there's an appropriate, acceptable placement position, would basically benefit those people coming out of Haugen from the north, which is going south.
The other thing, in reading, the chief's, comments here, as far as why he doesn't want to have it, it's still a state road. He said something here about, Petersburg Borough litigation event of an accident. It's still a state road. The troopers are still gonna investigate the accident. There should not be any, pushback on the borough. If there's an accident, there's an accident, there's an accident. People want to use the mirror, they can use the mirror. They don't want to use it, which probably most of them, no, most people won't use it. And I didn't see why that would even cause a problem. I mean, the whole litigation issue, I don't see it being an issue at all. Get an accident, you get an accident, your own fault. It's not town's fault, it's not the state's fault. So I didn't get that at all, but trying the mirror would be a good idea.
I think that if you guys approve the motion on the floor to pursue evaluation and placing a mirror, then Chief Kirk could look a little bit more into the borough's liability if someone were to get into an accident because they use the mirror and the distances are different, not actual, blah, blah, blah. I think that was his concern. But maybe he can look into that legally with our borough attorney and whatever else he needs to do this, the rules on it being a state road, and then bring it back to you guys at your next meeting.
I understand if there is an accident, the borough doesn't investigate. It belongs to the troopers, correct? State road.
I can't answer that.
You know, okay.
I guess Chief Kirk really needs to answer those questions for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally, based on my training and experience, you're still responsible whether there's a mirror or not to not pull out in front of oncoming traffic.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure that the borough incurs any additional liability based on a mirror because you're still the pilot of the car.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's the part I can get. You're still, you're the responsible person. It's like, it's a stop sign. If you stop, you go through it. There's no pushback on the borough because you didn't stop at the stop sign. Same
Right.
thing as using a mirror or traffic light or whatever. So I don't see it either.
Okay. Are we ready for a vote then? All right. Devrin,
This is for evaluation, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Stan,
Aye.
John, Dr. T.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, there's item D is the appointment of a liaison to the local emergency planning committee. Do I have a motion to
Appoint someone.
appoint someone or a member to be a liaison with the police? Huh? Local emergency
Planning Committee.
planning committee,
Make a motion.
okay?
Dr. T.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? All right,
Just personal interest, I want it before. I think it's a good organization like this one, when we can get it to meet. And it was defunct for quite some time. It's becoming more active again, so that's, I think, a good thing.
Shall I take a vote? John,
yeah, yes.
Devrin,
Yes.
Stan, Mark,
Yeah.
Dr. T? Thank you. Okay, so now I just want to make a quick little note here, if I could, for Stan's addition to the agenda. I don't see any real issue with it being added as an action item, but I just wanted to say out loud that traditionally, we don't add a meeting, add an action item to an agenda. The thought of, the reasoning for that is that it has not been noticed to the public. So people don't know you're going to talk about it. If they do know, they may want to come and talk to you about it. However, it's up to the chair, whether you want to go ahead and take it on as an action item, because really you're an advisory board. You don't make real decisions. You're recommending things. And you may choose to have Chief Kerr look into the possibility, or you may decide just to talk about it under discussion for this meeting and put it on as an action item at the next meeting. But I'll leave that up to you guys.
I go either way. I think it might be better to give it a little bit of time and do a little research and put it as an agenda item on the next meeting.
Yeah, I think not blindsiding people with, you got a spot, I didn't.
Yep.
There's other people on that street that'd be like, I want one of those too. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
posting it as a proposal or something to be discussed, I don't know how that gets worded, but I think that's probably the cleanest way to do it.
Yeah, then we'll talk about the next
Mhm.
one. Yeah, it makes more sense.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
Second.
thank you.
Okay, motion was made and seconded.
To move this item to the next meeting as a action item. Mark? Dr. T? Devrin?
Yes.
John? Stan?
Yes.
Thank you.
And we're here. Any other communications? I'm not sure what that means.
Well, so if you guys had any letters that came from the public, I would probably throw them in here for you under communications. Also, if anybody on the board has communications they'd like to share with everyone else, maybe a community member came up and discussed something with you that you want to share, you can talk about it now.
Or perhaps a poem.
Okay.
And then discussion items can always be added to the agenda, or you can just talk about it during the meeting. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the agenda.
Well, go ahead.
Make your mic work, please.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Sorry, Deb. I know there's been, only because I hang out at the fire station, there's discussion about the one fire truck that's bought and paid for a long time now, and whether we keep it or get rid of it. And I don't see why we get rid of something that's functioning perfectly, that we could utilize in maybe other areas of town. I was just made aware of the fact that where I live, I don't get a fire truck if I have a fire. And when I bought my house, no one told me that. And that's kind of upsetting to myself and some people we live around, based on the fire that occurred earlier this year with the Boggs home. They were lucky enough that they were within the 8-mile service area. I believe it's, again, I'm new to Alaska and new to how this works. But when we came here, we thought, as a fire department, as a police department, we were covered. And then we find out, no, we're not covered. And so maybe the fire truck can be utilized to help out. Is it service area 2? Am I correct in saying that?
There is
Service-
no service area too.
So I'm in
There
the.
could be.
So that's my next question. So
It's outside service area one,
So,
yes.
so in public service, safety, realm, is it possible to make a service area to cover the people, below, south of mile marker 8, which is getting more popular, with homes being built and people moving in, especially in the Papke's area where, if I'm correct, the town is looking to take over a portion of Papke's area. And, there's gonna be more traffic down there, more homes being built, and more instances where a fire could, occur. If I understood Aaron correctly, if there's a fire at Kupanoff, they use the boat to go to Kupanoff, which is, to me, is well outside of where I live.
Still
in-
outside of service area one.
But
yes.
they service that area
Well,
and
they potentially.
they potentially
There's
could.
no obligation.
Right,
It's
but-
based on available resources.
Right, but if I understood him correctly, that doesn't happen at all past south of exit.
Not exactly true. They
Not
did come to
exactly.
the hatchery when the hatchery burned.
The hatchery.
It took a while,
Yeah. it
and they
took-
came with one truck, but they did come.
Right, but that's just that's just something, I don't know how we go about talking about that officially, or how do you do that? I know it entails extra taxes on the people who live there. And, I still see the signs as I'm going home with the circle and the thing through it and people saying no borough, which, where some of those signs are, they're in front of a tent, not a home. But I don't know how we go about maybe rectifying that, or if we can explore how we can expand our police and fire services past mile marker 8, which is getting more popular as people come into town and build houses and that type of thing.
There's definitely a way to form a service area.
And I thought you'd know that.
And it's in charter, and the people where the service area will be formed must vote on it. But it's more complicated than for me just to tell you how to do it right here. But I could certainly, if you want to give me a call or come and see me, I could email you parts of the charter that explain how it could happen.
I would like to utilize the expertise in the audience to see if this is if this is a current issue. I know it's been there before, but I don't know the inner workings or what are the machinations or what's the mood?
If you're gonna talk, I want you to come over, sit over here and at least talk in the mic. Thank you.
You've been here longer than me.
Well, I know, I think the attempt is isn't it to store engine 5 out at Papke's?
So I'm putting together an actual proposal of what could be done if there was public interest in it. There is a gentleman who does live out there that has offered to lease land to the borough for $1. But he doesn't want he doesn't want a permanent structure built. I've looked into other land options as well, just so to have the numbers ready if that was ever an option. But in order to do any of that, if it's under the borough purview, I must have a service area as lined out by borough charter. I can't do it by like a fire district or anything because it's laid out in the borough charter that says it will be done by service area. One of the major concerns I have over the current way we are doing things is we are operating in a very gray area. If for some reason there was a fire past service area past 8 Mile that we did respond to, and there was another fire that was in service area 1 that also was off the hydrant system, I only have 1 tanker. So my water supply decisions get real fast. I have to either take my tanker away from the active fire that's outside the service area, in which case we've partially fought a fire and I see potential liability there, abandonment. But it's also abandonment if I don't respond to the people who have paid and are told that they will receive fire service for being in the district. So it's something I see that needs to be addressed. And I can't just do it by myself. It's going to require input from the public and from the borough and many other players, but something does need to be done.
Yeah, because we talked about with the Scow Bay Harbor expansion out there moving that that fire equipment there, possibly out the road if we have to move that building. But that's just been in the conversation. We're not anywhere near moving it, but it's just, that's part of the conversation.
It's worth stating that any, so, if you do move that station, there is something called an ISO rating that, determines what you pay in insurance. Anyone living out past the line of, service area or service area 1 is paying 10, which is the worst rating you can receive. Property insurance goes up quite a bit. Everyone off the hydrant system, that is living in service area 1 is paying an 8B rate, which is a little bit better. It's the first drop from 10 to 9 is about a 20% drop in your property insurance, and then 10% after that till you get to about that 5 level, and then after that you start seeing diminishing returns. But it's based off of that 8B is if you live within 5 miles of a fire department, of which they're using Scow Bay for that determination. That's why that line is set at 8 mile. So.
Is that different than your distance from a hydrant?
Yes, so if you live within a hydrant, you are at, I think the level's 4 currently. So.
That's like 100 yards.
I was told that I have it written down. I don't have it on my.
I think that's about how far apart they are, is about 100 yards, all the way down Sandy Beach.
And to add on to what Aaron's talking about too, number one, engine 5 is still in good shape and is a decent rig, but we're not, or the fire department is not replacing that truck because they feel like they just want a new one. That truck is 30+ years old.
No, I understand that.
And it would be best suited for if it were to go on as an exterior fire truck, only no interior, but while it could be housed out at Pappy's, who's gonna operate it? Aaron brought up resources, but our biggest resource is responders. And there aren't many responders of it. No, I'm sorry, on this island, period. Much less enough responders to, keep inside service area 1 protected, or to help keep it protected versus outside service area 1. So setting up service area 2, putting together responders for out there and getting them trained would be fantastic.
There is interest, and Devon is completely correct. So we do have limited supplies. With engine 5, it is built 1991, and right behind that is engine 6, which is, I'm gonna try and delay replacing it within the next year or 2, but within the next 5 years, I mean, it's gonna be, about 34, 35 years old. So how long do you want to keep equipment that you may or may not be able to replace parts on and does have the potential to fail when it's most needed? So, but that's all part of the conversation.
I think part of the equation too was if we were selling it or giving it away at a like bargain rate, it was to develop goodwill with somebody who really needed it and didn't have anything.
Which case I see the need for out there and continue as they continue to expand. And I believe the Mental Health Trust is finalizing their subdivision out there, which is going to expand more properties out there when people do start building. So that's something that should be looked at.
Any other items for discussion? I guess I kind of have one, and I don't know exactly how it fits into this. In light of active shooters going on in the lower 48 and schools and so forth, I guess I'd like to know what's in place here in Petersburg, and if the fire or police need additional training, or if the schools need additional training. I'd like to know what we could do to help that achieve that purpose so that we're not learning on the job, so to speak. There's very serious situations. They're not it's not a time to figure out how to get it done. So there may already be those things in place that I'm not aware of. But I guess in a future meeting, I'd like to have the, emergency responders, let us know what's in place and if they need additional support along those lines, either in training or equipment. So that these areas, the schools and the churches, and the public meeting areas, we have some sort of something in place to respond to that and people trained to do it. I personally looked at some of the training that's available in Haynes. There's going to be like 4 or 5 classes this summer on that kind of response. I don't know what they are. I think they're part of AST's doing it. I'm not sure why they're doing it in Haynes, but that seems to be where they're at. And whether, the fire or police want to send people to that. I guess I would like to know from the fire department and from the police department, if you have stuff in there, I'd just like to know what it is. And if it's not, or it needs refreshed, it's not something that's one and done. It's something that needs to be ongoing. I spoke with the chief and police chief, and the guys now, they have keys, access to the school, every one of the patrol officers. So that is pretty important. And it's a good thing. So I guess I just let.
So then can we ask that maybe the, fire, or the police chief and Aaron come back to us at the next meeting with a report and, maybe specifically ask that they touch on that topic?
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
There has been training within the community.
I can,
The borough had it, the hospitals had it, they've sent a couple staff down to training. Our sergeant has led active shooter drills at the elementary school, middle school and high school. And our sergeants, I think down in Ketchikan now doing active shooter drill with Ketchikan on the Alaska Marine Highway System, but yeah.
If it's already in place, then just drills. If it's not in place or something new, the new widget or gadget, to use, I think that it's something that we need to find out about and I'm just curious. I'm the new kid on the block, so to speak.
I can bring more information back on that. I do know that Chief Kerr has, in the last couple of years, has done some major drills with the department. Including the Coast Guard, they are always happy to come in and drill with us. The state also, for those types of drills, provides funding for that kind of stuff. So all we have to do is tell them, we want to do an active shooter drill at the school or the hospital or what have you. And they will actually develop the drill for us and then come in and help perform that drill. So that is part of what I've learned at just recently was doing an emergency management meeting in Anchorage. The fire department and I'd have to review the plan specifically to give you details so I can come back with that report. But I do know that they also have some equipment dedicated to those types of responses as well. But would probably be taking direction from the police department as to when it's appropriate to start acting and doing our things such as EMS response.
Okay, well, I think a report from both public safety agencies in the next meeting to tell us what you got and what you need or what you'd like to see. I would like to hear that.
Latest technology, they've just applied for a grant for the school to have its own in-house radio network that the police dispatch will be monitoring. They believe they are likely to get that grant. They also have a telephone network that teachers can text directly. So they have that option as well through the E911 system.
So I guess on that note, maybe it would be a good idea for all of us to be thinking about different topics, different points that we need to be asking of fire department, police department, the schools, the hospital, Coast Guard. about, the different roles that they take in different aspects of this town to help educate us, specifically to help educate us so that we're more informed and can make better decisions as to the different questions and calls that come out through us. So maybe if we can all send requests to the chair and we start putting a list together to make these meetings a little bit more effective.
That's a good idea. Okay, any other discussion items? All right, I have a motion. Okay,
Second.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So you have to take a roll call on that one.